Quiet on the set, please.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
And action!
Welcome to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign. If you love old movies, Hollywood history, or the golden age of filmmaking, you've come to the right place. This is the podcast that talks about amazing stories of Tinseltown from another era. Hear fascinating conversations with writer-producer Steve Cubine, who quite literally lives just beneath the Hollywood sign, and actress-writer Nan McNamara. Now your hosts, Steve and Nan.
Welcome, everybody. We've got a great episode for you today. We have two very special guests with us. We have actors Patty McCormack and Dan Lauria. And you're probably asking yourself, what do Patty McCormack and Dan Lauria have to do with each other? Well, we're going to tell you. They are currently appearing in a wonderful play called Just Another Day, which Dan wrote. At the Odyssey Theater here in Los Angeles, and it runs through September the 28th. And we're going to get to that later. We're going to get into how you can buy tickets, and we encourage you to do so. But first, a little intro about our guests. Patty McCormack is probably the most famous child star of all time, I would venture to say. And after appearing in the Broadway production of Maxwell Anderson's chilling play, The Bad Seed, in 1954, she and most of the Broadway cast actually repeated their roles for the well-received 1956 film version, which of course was directed by the great Mervyn LeRoy. And in this film, Patty plays Rhoda Penmark, this demonic child who maybe just needs a little love, maybe needs a spanking, who knows? But it's a performance for the ages. It still packs a punch today, and if you haven't seen it, you must. For her role, she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, also a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, and she won the Milky Way Gold Star Award as Most Outstanding Juvenile Performance.
I love it.
Now, Patty went on, of course, to have an incredible busy career in film, TV, theater. She's been in some great movies. She was in every popular TV show you can ever imagine. She had recurring roles on Dallas, The Sopranos. She's appeared in great films with filmmakers like Ron Howard, where she is particularly effective playing Pat Nixon in his 2008 film Frost Nixon. And also she appears in Paul Thomas Anderson's The Master from 2012. Incredible career.
And not to be outdone, Mr. Dan Lauria. We all know Dan as the gruff but loving dad, Jack Arnold, on the iconic television series The Wonder Years. He has enjoyed a long and stellar career, appearing on TV in everything from LA Law to Cagney and Lacey to Blue Bloods to The Good Doctor. Recently, he made a big splash playing Tip O'Neill in the 2024 film Reagan, starring Dennis Quaid. Dan is also an accomplished director and playwright, besides appearing on Broadway in the 2010-2011 season of Lombardi, where he played the legendary football coach. He also appeared in A Christmas Story, the musical, for 2 years. He has penned many plays that have been performed on both coasts, actually, including 2015's Dinner with the Boys, a hilarious dark comedy about two aging mobsters, which I would love to see, which had a very healthy New York run. Now, currently, as Steve mentioned, Patty and Dan are being seen together in Dan's latest play, Just Another Day, which is a beautiful look at aging, love, memories, and the power of a good classic movie. And you see, listeners, how we're tying in this whole thing here, because Dan and Patty are clearly lovers of classic film. Patty and Dan are joining us via Zoom. Welcome, Patty and Dan. How lovely to have you guys.
You did a lot better than either of our agents.
You're really
You get 10% from now on.
Well, we wanted to do you guys right.
For sure, for sure.
Well, just to kick things off, I really would love to talk about the play, Dan. What can you tell us about this play, and what was the inspiration for it?
Well, a good friend of mine, Patty Arger, her father, who I used to play softball with, he's in his 90s, and he's in an assisted living home. And he has dementia. He doesn't really recognize me, but when we go up to see him, if we talk about the New York Yankees, he goes back to when he was a child seeing Babe Ruth, and he knows all the batting averages. Then he talks about World War II with Joe DiMaggio, then Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and eventually he'll even go, Dan, you would have loved it.
Oh,
So
wow.
what I did was substitute old movies and write a play about two old comedy writers with dementia who meet each day, write comedy, fall in love, and the next day they start over again. So,
Mm.
And it's funny.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny,
It's
but
hard to believe.
the idea of the play is that the creative spirit never dies.
Patty, how did you get involved in the play?
Well, by default, really, I feel at the beginning.
At the beginning,
Yeah.
yeah, Patty.
Someone else was doing it and then couldn't do it. And so then
Yeah, at Shadowland Stages, upstate New York, we had a run, and Patty came in with literally 2 days rehearsal and did the play on book and got rave reviews.
Wow.
And then we
My reading.
eventually did it in New York, and
Wow.
we got rave reviews. She got rave reviews.
the New York run was a real run,
Yeah.
felt like a real run. And it was really fun to do.
Know each other? Did you guys know each other before this?
Oh, yes.
Because you're both New Yorkers. Do you guys go that far back?
Not really.
It was
It's
out
here
here.
in LA.
Yeah.
Head of the class.
80s.
We did a
It was
guest.
the ALC.
After I got to Wonder Years, I produced a couple of plays, and one of them was A Bronx Tale. And my mentor,
you're
Charles
right.
Durning, I didn't want to keep producing plays. He kind of made me start a reading series. We were going to read a new play once a month to help writers get literary agents. And we ended up doing one a week for 9 years.
Ooh,
So all the
Wow.
actors,
that he knew.
yeah, I mean, great. We always had great actors. Peter Falk and Jack Klugman, Dom
Huge.
DeLuise. Yeah,
Ah,
they
Oh
all,
my
it was their way of
gosh.
doing
Wow.
theater
Mitchum.
for Robert Mitchum. Yeah.
I mean, he
Wow. My
Yeah.
God, my favorite.
is it?
that's
Oh,
amazing.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask Dan, I love Charles Durning so much. What was he like?
oh,
Charlie, we would go to dinner at least once a month, usually more. It would be Charlie Durning, Jack Klugman, Peter Falk, and Dom DeLuise and me. Now, you have to understand, Charlie was one of the warmest and funniest people you'll ever meet. And Jack and Peter would obsess about everything. Peter Falk would be, Dan, is it funnier if I move the glass here, or should I move it over here? We'd go, just move the glass, Pete, will you? And
It doesn't matter.
Charlie would say, Pete, if acting was that hard, Dan and I wouldn't do it.
Oh,
So that's really Charlie and Peter. And Jack was more like Peter, and Dom was more like Charlie.
you do a mean Peter Falk, I gotta say.
yeah. Well,
We were good friends.
Well, since
Anyway.
the play involves classic cinema, can both of you talk about what films influenced you from the classic era as you grew up in this business and even before you became actors?
wow.
Well, The Bad Seed's definitely one of them.
Yeah, of course, you better say that.
Good answer, Dan.
Yeah, right. See, I was quick with that one. Yeah.
You were.
Well, to be honest, I was educated pretty much along the way because I didn't really have that thing for films, old films. I was only the ones that I was.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, Charles Durning always said the greatest acting lesson a young actor can have is to watch an old movie because they didn't edit. They do 4 or 5 minute scenes without a cut. You
Yeah.
can't. I haven't seen anybody listen on television in 15 years.
Yeah.
It's your face, her face, your face, her face.
Cut,
And
cut, cut,
subliminally, your mind knows you're not being told a story. Whereas when you watch an old movie, take something like It's a Wonderful Life, you watch every Christmas of it, you'll still cry at the end because it actually takes you off your couch into Bedford Falls.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you
yes.
become part of their lives. Well, with the new films, you can't learn anything. You can't learn anything about timing or acting.
I can answer that right now about
Henry Jones.
Well, I was thinking about as a kid, I remember I adored films that I realized later had to do with family and things totally against the bad scene. I loved one of my favorites, because my favorite actress was Elizabeth Taylor. My favorite other favorite actress is
Ingrid Bergman.
Ingrid Bergman. And so I did have familiarity with some of the old movies, obviously, via TV, and although I did go see Elizabeth Taylor probably 10 times when it was at the Grauman's Theater with any friend that I could get to go with,
Yes.
So I don't know. I think that had to do with
Yeah, but let me inject, more importantly, like Charles Durning and Jack were my mentors. Marcia Hunt,
I
the
know.
great film noir
Yes.
star, was like her mother.
She played
Well-
my mom in a series, probably X-Men
Yes.
Girl.
Peck's Bad
And-
Girl.
That's where we met. And then for whatever reason, through the years, we stayed in and out of each other's lives. And at some points more in, some points more out. And in the later years, I saw her a lot and had the
Great.
pleasure of just her wisdom and
There was
what a
nobody
human-
like Marcia. Yeah, nobody like her.
and
She lived to be almost 105.
Yeah.
she took everything that happened in life as an opportunity to deal with it. With grace and all of that sort of genteel personality was real. She truly was the most graceful, intelligent, and world connected.
Well, she knew everybody. That's
Ellen-
why I love to talk to her. I would
Ellen
just mention,
Roosevelt. Was a friend.
but I
Yeah.
would just mention an old actor and she'd come up, like
Yeah,
Clark.
stories.
Oh, Clark.
Yeah. And there were many in love with her.
Oh, yeah. Tony Quinn. Oh, he wanted to run
Oh,
lines
Tony.
sitting on a bed.
Yes.
She was I miss her a lot,
Oh, I know. Me too. That's actually how I know Patty. Our paths have crossed always through Marcia. It's always been an event like her 100th birthday or something that she's been a part of.
Charlie, Durning was like that. He was the youngest man to land at Normandy, and
Wow.
he was always doing things for the veterans. And I think they both had the same attitude about it. Like Charlie said, it took me 20 years to learn how to act, and another 10 to learn how not to. And he would always say, it's called a play for a reason. Charlie he couldn't wait to get on stage. He never had no stage fright. He was always, neither do I. We just want to get out there.
I get nervous. He doesn't. We're entering from the same side of the stage.
On this,
So he's talking about, whatever, and I'm freezing, but then we both land in the same space. So that's lucky. I guess that's how we work,
That's good chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you two have had remarkable careers, both of you. When did you know you wanted to be an actor, and what got you started in the business?
If you're asking me first, I would say it was not planned, and I never imagined that, because I was, taken to a baby contest, the short version, and won that. It was a modeling contract. My mother just followed the steps and had a lisp and went to a speech teacher, and she set me up for a Broadway show. And then the next thing was I did live TV, and then it grew, and nobody sat around thinking they wanted to have a child who was in show business. So it was an accident.
Let me interject. Patty may be one of the few actresses you'll ever talk to who did live TV that still do acting.
Yeah.
And you can go on, right now, you can go on your phone, Google Playhouse 90 Project Immortality, starring Lee J. Cobb, and his son is Michael Landon before Bonanza.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Patty's the daughter, 1959.
I'll focus on Patty a little bit here. Everyone knows you from The Bad Seed.
Right.
Why do you think that performance in that movie has struck such a chord with audiences? Because it's still such a cult classic.
It is. I think it's morphed into that, but there's something so frightening, I think, about power the fear that it can produce in parents to have a child like that with no conscience, and basically that's no
Empathy.
empathy. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I think early on it was probably one reason why it appealed and frightened people. It was the 50s, the
Yes.
1950s, where everybody was nervous anyway, and probably a child out of control or in control. I think it changed through the years, and then it became interesting because I had friends who told me that I know I have a strong gay following in this film, and I know I do.
Yes.
I'm thrilled, and but to talk about that in the world we live in, everybody says, "Oh, you can't say that." Like, well, I can. It's true. And I'm grateful for it
Let's
because
let Judy Garland appeal.
That brings up a good point. Having seen then the movie over and over, I'm sure you've seen it multiple times. It's in addition to your stellar performance, the rest of the cast is just perfection. Can you share any memories that you have of working with, Nancy Kelly or Eileen Heckert, who has such a great scene?
Oh, Henry Jones. I love Henry
and Henry
Jones.
Jones and all of those folks.
well, Mervyn LeRoy came to see the Broadway show. We all did do you know that we all
Yes.
were in the Broadway show?
Yeah.
And 6 of us were taken. And then there were some people that had other commitments and couldn't come. So, but Mervyn LeRoy pretty much wanted us to, in a master, do the scene as we had. And then he, pulled whatever he wanted out of it and redirected some things. But he really enjoyed so much the theatricality, and we were all sort of in the same level. So it didn't look
Right.
like one was hammier than the other, Yeah,
and
we
the
were all
scene with
hammy,
Henry
Jones.
The
But in
scene
such a
with
good
Henry
way.
Jones
Oh,
goes
yeah.
on forever
And-
without a cut.
And that
Yeah.
was new. That was written only for the film. The scene
Wow.
with Henry Jones. There was a variation of it on stage, but not like that.
Oh, such a creepy character. I loved him.
Yeah. He
Well,
was the nicest man in life. He
Oh,
protected me as a child actor in New York.
Well,
And-
yeah, see, she's leaving out something really important.
What?
While she was doing that play on stage, she was rehearsing every day for a live TV show that was on Friday night.
I
That's right.
So she would leave rehearsal, get in a cab, go do a Broadway show, and on Friday night they'd have to change in the cab to get there in time for the curtain to go up. It was totally
Oh
legal.
my
so
gosh.
true.
speaking of the great Mervyn LeRoy, and I want to embarrass you a little bit, Patty, because in his autobiography, he says, and this is a quote, "I think hers is one of the finest performances by a child actor ever put on film." How about that? That's some pretty nice praise from such an iconic director. What do you remember about him, and what was he like to work with?
He was, I remember he always looked dressed.
Oh,
He had, sharp dresses with his initials sewed onto each shirt,
wow.
He was quite and he was lovely to me. He was like an uncle. I don't know.
Very
Yeah.
man.
He was
Yeah.
elegant, wonderful man. And he gave me the best present during the shooting at Warner Brothers. He presented me with a beautiful red bike so that I could ride around and,
How
get
sweet.
some energy out and have some fun exploring the Warner slot. So I hold him very high in my memories.
Well, Patty, you followed that up with a film very different, All Mine to Give, 1957.
Yeah.
What was that experience like with Glynis Johns and Cameron Mitchell?
That is such a sad film, by the way.
I know. And the alternate name for that film is The Day They Gave Babies Away.
Oh no!
It's real. Yeah, it's
Wow.
written somewhere. I know. And we shot up in Arrowhead, I think, and there was snow, and it was wonderful. Memory I have of that is just the director, Alan Reisner, who then
Mhm.
took me to the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And they were a romantic couple, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Glynis Johns and Alan
Oh.
Reisner.
Oh, a little love on set
There's a
there.
little something going on there.
Yeah.
No,
For me, that movie had such an incredible supporting cast of some of my favorite character actors like Hope Emerson and Alan Hale Jr. and Retta Shaw.
Rita Shaw, I remember because she was around, and and when they gave the babies away one by one, it was Rex Thompson, yeah,
Yeah.
his job to do it as the big brother. But I have child memories of all the work that I did as a child because I wasn't a grown up actress. You know what I mean? I wasn't looking at my makeup or anything.
That came later.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. So I have kid memories. No one's ever asked me that. What do I remember? Isn't it funny?
Oh,
that is
funny.
So thank you for that nice and
Yeah, they ask that about the Bad Seed, but they don't ask about the other one.
yeah.
She had
Oh,
a lot of work as
And
a child.
Kathy O, I loved
Oh,
Kathy
we
O.
were just about to talk about Kathy. Oh, we love Kathy. Oh,
Watch
Yeah.
that.
That's one of my
Oh.
favorites that I did
yeah.
as a
It's
kid.
such a fun film.
So fun.
And it kind of reminds me of what you just described, Patty, of you exploring the Warner Brothers lot on your red bike from Urban
Yeah, right.
Roy.
Well, I had to
Because
live with that.
it's sort of that film.
Yeah.
And the power of love to transform that character. It's such
Yeah.
a sweet, wonderful, wonderful
That's
film.
the Dan Duryea.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was going to
Dan
say,
Lauria is one of my
what
favorite films.
Me too,
we love Dan
Dan.
Duryea.
We
What
love him.
what was he like? 'Cause
Oh,
we
he was-
hear he was the nicest guy.
he was the nicest guy. Absolutely true. Liked kids,
Mhm.
So with that, it was fun. And Mary Fickett.
Yes,
she-
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
All My Children.
Yeah, right. She went on to, fame.
And what about Jan Sterling? I love Jan Sterling.
Oh, Jan Sterling.
She's amazing.
It's very special. And I knew her later too. She was a doll, and we knew each other later on too because of Jack Schur, who was the
Mhm.
director.
Of
and
course.
and we all met up once in a while. And it's funny. You ask my feelings about that time, and I always felt like a little bit like a fish out of water. So because my package wasn't the same. And there I was trying to connect with the people that knew me that way.
Yes.
And I hadn't quite developed into being comfortable enough to be myself. And so I had those awkward years where they didn't do that to me. I did it to me,
Yeah.
They were loving and embracing, but I was it's tough transitioning.
Well, I was just going to say, so many child actors never make the transition. I mean, they go through the awkward puberty years and that's it. Their careers are over.
Yeah.
I think you managed your career beautifully. And what I love that you did in the 60s, and they're actually some of my favorite movies, you did those great, I call them those teenage delinquent movies.
Yeah.
Like, was it Jacktown and Mary
Yes.
Jane and the
Yes.
Young Runaways, where, you deal with these topical subjects like unwanted pregnancy and drugs and alcohol. I love that you made that transition. And what was that period of your career like, going from child actor to adult?
You know what? I've spent 3 years before that, all that stuff, just living in Brooklyn. And I went back to Brooklyn when I was 16, and I worked a little bit in that time. And then I know by the time I was 18, I did nothing for 3 years. And then,
Live television.
yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I decided that I wanted to go out to California again. It was a good thing to have a break,
You came back in a beautiful way because you haven't stopped working. I mean, my gosh, your IMDb page is like a ticker tape parade.
Before we get a little bit further into Dan's career and more about the play, I think it's time for this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz.
Perfect. So this week, our Hollywood Pop Quiz question is, Of course, we all know that Patty Duke and Anne Bancroft won Oscars for playing Helen Keller and Annie Sullivan in The Miracle Worker. However, it was originally performed as a part of Playhouse 90, where Patty McCormack played Helen Keller. And the question is, what Oscar-winning actress played Anne Sullivan in this production?
Don't give the answer.
Oh, don't give the answer.
Don't give the answer till the end.
All right.
Not till the end. Okay, we'll be right back with more Patty McCormack and Dan Lauria after this.
Steve and Ann, Patty and Dan will be right back, but first another stop on the Hollywood tour. They were discussing Marsha Hunt a few minutes ago. She was not only a remarkably gifted actress, she was also a compassionate activist. She worked tirelessly for UNICEF for years. She was also blacklisted at the age of only 32, not because she refused to testify during the Red Scare. She wasn't even asked to. But because the House Un-American Activities Committee just decided her views were too liberal for their tastes. Well, here's something else you may not have known. Marsha Hunt attended Paramount Pictures acting school along with classmates like Frances Farmer, Olympia Bradna, Robert Cummings, Eleanor Whitney, and Rosalind Keith. Quite a class, huh? In 1935, Paramount Pictures signed her to a contract, and get this, her original Paramount contract granted her two unusual concessions. One, she could do her own makeup, and two, she wasn't required to appear in those cheesy photos like other starlets were required to. So even as a young actor just beginning her career, she knew how to stand up for herself. Now back to Patty and Dan with Steve and Nan from Beneath the Hollywood Sign.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we get further with our great guests, Patty McCormack and Dan Lauria, we are going to give a shout out to our Listener of the Week. And this week, we are honoring Elizabeth Testera. Thank you, Elizabeth, for all your support, all your likes, all your great comments. We really appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you. All right. So, Dan, you came at your acting career a little differently than Patty did. You had a lot of life experience under your belt. As I understand it, you were on a football scholarship at Southern Connecticut University, and you discovered theater. After that, you joined the military. You served in Vietnam, and thank you for your service. How did you first break into the business?
Well, when I was younger, I had an aunt, my Aunt Adele, lived with us, and she was an old movie buff. So sometimes I'd come home from high school from practice, and she'd say, "Go to bed." And I go to bed very early, and 2:30 in the morning, she'd wake me up and go, "James Cagney." And we'd watch the old Late Show, and she knew everyone. So I always had an interest in it. And then when I was at college, literally, I was telling a joke before practice, and this old lady came up and tapped me on my shoulder pads with her cane and said, "Would you like to be in a play?" And I said, "I always wanted to do that." And she went, "I know." And I said, "How would you know?" And she said, "Because I'm the greatest acting teacher in the world." And was Constance Welsh, who started the Yale Drama.
Oh, right.
So she dragged me over to the theater after practice, and she made me audition for actually a student production, 1,000 Clowns. But it was all to get ready to do The Tempest that she was doing. She needed a big, ugly guy to play a Caliban. Yeah.
Big ugly guy. Come on.
Well, back then, that's what she, it was kind of her sense of humor. But I just fell in love with it. And of course, all the football players came and made fun. And, it was the 60s and 70s. And it was a great way of getting all the old jocks with the theater people and everybody, it was a different time because people who disagreed would like to sit and talk with the other side. It was the opposite of now. So it was kind of a melding. And then because I was in a ROTC, it's called PLC for the Marine Corps, I had to go in the service, and Miss Welsh had a lot of students like James Whitmore that went into the service in World War II, and she would send them plays knowing they were going to act when they came out. So she always sent me plays.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So then when I came out, I had a chance to coach football. I coached at my old high school, and I had a chance to go into the Big Ten as a linebacker coach. And the day I had to make up my mind. I got a grant to go to UConn for playwriting. So my MFA is in playwriting.
Oh.
So I really didn't go into New York. I was in my late 20s. Was very fortunate from day one in New York. Charles Stern, met Charles. I knew him. I brought him to our group, which was all Vietnam veterans. It was called VetGo. He made us change the name to the Veterans Ensemble Theater and said the Vietnam Veterans, because he was World War II. But that brought us to the Public Theater and Joe Papp. And
Wow.
Charlie told me the first year I met him, if I ever went a year without doing a play, he'd never speak to me again.
Oh,
He never did, and I never did.
Oh, good for you.
clearly the theater, Dan, is, I'm assuming, your first love, right? Because that's how you started. But
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
I-
nobody else cut, nobody edits our performance.
yeah, right. It's,
But what-
we're in charge. But if my math is correct, you've appeared on nearly 150 different television shows. That's not counting the 100+ episodes of the Wonder Years, right? So
This is a very nice way of them saying how old we are.
no. Yeah, I'm sure you get asked about the series a lot. Do you have a favorite memory of doing that show, or even one of the other ones that you guested on or recurred on?
Well, you have memories of everything you did, some good, some bad. The one no actor likes to hang his hat on any one hook, but if you had to, the Wonder Years pretty classy hook.
Yeah, I was going to say, not a bad hook. Yeah.
Yeah, not a bad hook,
Yeah.
But I always give, when somebody, ask me what my favorite performance is,
What's your favorite performance?
the next one. That's the
Good
job.
answer. Good answer.
Never look back.
Oh, yeah.
You've also appeared in maybe 75 films, like 9.5
No,
weeks.
not too many films.
Okay, but you're in 9.5 weeks. I know you're in Independence Day,
Yeah.
but one of my favorites, Dan, and I love this movie and I love your performance in it so much. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Stakeout.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh,
1987, Richard Dreyfuss, Emilio Estevez, you and Forrest Whitaker, the chemistry you guys have together.
Oh.
It's amazing. You're kind of the straight man cop, but just
Oh.
the whole ensemble is great. What was that experience like working with those guys?
I'll tell you, I had to back up to the bank to get my paycheck. I never had so much fun. And Richard Dreyfuss and I would constantly do that game. We would say a line like "definitely," and he'd go on the waterfront, And John Badham was such a good director, and him and James, the writer, they put it in the movie. But John Badham was so nice. He came to me and said, "Dan, I can't do it with you and Rich. I got to let Emilio do it." And I said, "No, go ahead. It'd be great." So while they were shooting that scene, I went to Emilio. Forrest and I were always on the set. I went to Emilio, say, "I think I need a bigger boat." So they waited till the camera was running, and Emilio said a couple of lines, and Richard knows all the old movies. And then he said, "I think I need a bigger boat." And Richard went, "I don't think I know that one." And of course, it's in the film.
It is in the film. That's
As
right.
soon as John yelled "cut," Richard threw a roll of paper towels at me. He goes, "You told him to do that, didn't you?"
I love knowing that was you, Dan. Very
Yeah,
sneaky.
yeah.
Very funny. That's
No, that
amazing.
was one of those shoots. We had a good time, and Emilio was going through a personal problem, and John said to me and Forrest, "Look, any night," he goes, "I want to make sure you guys go with him." Well, it was like putting the fox in charge of the hen.
That's
But
funny.
nice people. Emilio's just one of the sweet. And Forrest, I was so happy when he got the recognition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Won the Academy Award.
Such a phenomenal actor he
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
And just the warmest person, and always creating. I noticed that about, especially Peter. He might have been fanatical about Columbo, but he was always like needing bread.
Yes.
Always trying to make it better,
Yes. The
but in a civil
specificity.
way, not in an angry way. Or,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think? Can we
Yeah.
make this better? And Emilio was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, just jumping back to the theater, Dan, I have to ask you about the Broadway production of Lombardi. Judith Light, I had the great privilege of getting to work with her once, and she's just such a phenomenal actress.
"Oh, is she the best or what?"
Can you talk about that? I mean, it's also directed by Thomas
Tommy
Hale,
Kail.
who directed that little musical called Hamilton.
Yeah, and before that, In the Heights.
Yes.
Yes.
Patty will tell you I knew Tommy and Lynn before In the Heights. I gave them my apartment to live in,
Oh
and
my gosh.
I
wow.
brought my agent to the basement of a bookstore to watch them work on a number.
Ah.
And my agent said, I don't know what you're talking about. The Puerto Rican kid can't sing that well, and the director looks like Clarabelle with dark hair.
Wow.
Said, get the hell out of here, you know.
That.
And I supported them. And then when Lombardi came along, the producers didn't want me. They wanted a movie star, you know, Martin Sheen. They had Anthony LaPaglia. And Tommy, knowing I'm a little nuts, he said, Dan, would you come in on your own dime and do a reading, a table read? It was actually no one that was in the final thing. And David Marinus, who wrote the novel When Pride So Much, and Simons, who wrote the play, they wanted me. And the producers said, yeah, but we won't sell enough tickets. You can't put TV people on Broadway. So Tommy came up with the idea of reading it for the NFL. And Roger Goodell, the president, said, if he doesn't play Lombardi, we're not getting behind this.
Oh my gosh, how smart was that?
Wow.
And then Tommy said, who do you see as the wife? And I gave him 5 names, but Wendy Malick, really good at Jean Smart, good actresses. Ann Archer's name was in there, Bernadette Peters. And anyway, Judith was literally the first name. Now, she couldn't come for the audition. And I was and I had to get back to LA, but they didn't find any. Tommy wasn't happy. And I said, can you wait one more day? And he says, well, yeah, we're going to see some other characters. So Judith came up from Washington, D.C., and she auditioned, and they asked her to wait in the other room. And Tommy called me and said, we are not letting her leave the building. So they said, you want to tell her? So Judith came in. We had worked on One Life to Live together. I was her pimp. I was Gus the Killer Pimp.
Oh,
Ooh.
gosh. I don't think I remembered that you were the pimp.
Yeah.
I love that.
My fan club was from Sing Sing, so watch what you read. Anyway, I got to say, hey, Judith, we fooled them. They want you and me. And she said, all right, Poppy. She always called me Poppy. I call her Mom. And she said, let's show them. And they said we wouldn't run 6 weeks. And we ran 11 and a half months.
Jeez.
We were the longest running straight play.
Yeah.
But Judith was great. Judith is,
She's
she
awesome.
missed a week. We had a very good understudy. She had to go shoot a pilot or something. And Henny was wonderful. But I'll tell you, for me, that was a hard week. I just,
Yeah, of course.
I'll bet.
just
Yeah.
like, can't imagine doing the play we're doing right now without Pat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I think that both of us would like to see 2 other people do
Yeah,
it.
Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
We wish, well,
Yeah. With
they should make a little movie.
yeah,
Yes,
with Michelle Williams and maybe Gabriel Mott playing
We've
them
been
younger.
talking about.
Oh, I know the younger versions. I
Yeah.
like Follies
Like
a little bit.
Yeah, a
You
little
get
bit like
Tommy
Nova.
Kail on that because he knows that Michelle, right?
I know.
Yeah, no, Tommy.
He knows her well.
Tommy
He does.
see us in
Biblically.
New York,
Biblically.
and there's a reference in the play to Cheez-Its, and the next day he mailed us 24 boxes of Cheez-Its.
Oh my
Oh.
God, that's hysterical.
Yeah,
And
no,
we autographed them. And
Oh, how
And
sold
fun.
them for a charity. Yeah.
Oh,
so-
good.
That's
Solomon.
nice.
Good.
That's nice.
No, Tommy's. I work with a lot of good. John Rando, who directed Christmas, or just great. But Tommy may be the best director I ever worked.
Wow.
He knew how to use previews. He
Yeah.
always was saying, "Don't." Oh, I love it. I love that. I love that. But don't lock in yet. Don't lock in.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling until you did it, what he originally wanted.
Well, I'm going to ask you guys an impossible question. I'm going to start with Patty. Top 3 favorite classic films. Can you do it?
yeah. Right. Well, I kind of shared the one I loved as a kid was Giant.
Yes.
And then later on,
Parallax View.
Parallax
Thank
View.
you.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
That's-
love that film.
Oh,
Great
that was
film.
a
Such a good
killer
movie.
movie.
And he is in that movie, as I like to say, he is yummy in that movie.
Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm
You're
sure.
gonna
Oh,
see
he's
that-
yummy
you're
now.
gonna
Yeah.
see that movie playing a lot now.
It was sensational. And I also loved I think I like political suspense movies too
Yes.
that you're on. And so
Yeah.
what was the series that Jack Ryan?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And whatever those were called.
Yes.
Clear and Present Danger.
Oh,
Yeah.
love
For Red
those.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I think of those right now.
Dan, how about you? Your top 3 classic films?
Well, I'm such an old movie buff because of Charles Durning, but first would be It's a Wonderful Life.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, because the world's a better place every time it's shown.
Yeah.
And Best Years of Our Lives.
Oh, that's one of mine right there.
That's an
I'm
awesome.
right there with you.
Yeah, and then it would, if I had, it would be a tie between Requiem for a Heavyweight and Marty. They're both
Oh.
Beauty and the Beast.
Great films.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Really
And
good
great
films.
writers.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that. I mean, how do you leave Network out of the best movies ever made? And it didn't even win Best Picture.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I want to circle back to something about Patty that I wanted to ask you when we're talking about your career, because I know that you were cast in the how should I say this, infamous version of Don Quixote by
Oh,
Orson
yes.
Welles,
Yeah.
but it was never completed. What was that experience like?
Well, that was amazing. We shot in Mexico City, and I was about 12, I think, 11 or 12, something like. And we stayed at this little motel kind of place, and there was Akim Tamirov there, and
Yeah.
the man who played Don Quixote, who I can't think of.
Right.
Sorry.
It's not Orson Welles.
No. And Orson Welles was, and the basic of the movie he shot, which got altered tremendously after he was gone,
Yeah.
was that he was a storyteller telling me the story of Don Quixote. And and they came alive,
Okay.
and we
It's The Princess Bride. There is nothing new. And I'm sure Orson Welles would tell you he got that idea from someone. But it is
Yes.
exactly what Peter Falk and Fred Savage did in The Princess Bride.
my mother used to say I was considered like a modern day young Dulcinea
Mhm.
in the thing. And I, accepted that. But I think what they did to it later on was really sad, because all of those things got switched. I wound up in a scene in a movie theater. I don't know. It was just all changed.
Patty, did you ever get to see any parts of the movie?
No.
No,
No.
because I guess he never finished it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, he must have. I guess he did that a lot because he ran out of money or backing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
But the pleasure of staying with Akim
Yeah.
Tamirov and the man who looked like Don Quixote.
A friend of mine, an old agent named Hal Gefsky, he would pretend he couldn't drive at night. So I'd pretend I was his chauffeur. And whenever there was a guest speaking at the AFI, I would be able to get in.
Ah,
And one night it was Orson Welles. He said to this room full of directors, the reason why you're all here is because you can't act.
Oh.
And I laughed so loud, he goes, ooh, there's one of them among us. And then he said, and the reason why is because the first caveman to tell the story of the hunt over the fire had no director, no scriptwriter, no costume, no lighting designer. And your job as a director is to help an actor tell a story. And then he sat down and said, questions?
Oh my
But
God.
he went on for over
Yeah.
2 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
But that was his initial thing.
was
And-
his-
That's kind of brilliant.
yeah, and you always have that feeling in his movies, as much as he angled the camera and everything, it was about telling that story and
Yeah.
evoking emotion,
and he
Yeah.
was I think I just got lucky with all the people that I worked with,
Mhm.
or maybe I was a nice kid. I don't know, but he was lovely to me.
Yes.
You know, he paid attention. He looked at me. He talked. What he did do, which was fascinating and wasn't a problem as a child, was that each night he would rewrite what we were going to do the next day.
Oh,
That was like
That's challenging.
heavy duty. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it wasn't scary to me. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was 12.
Well, and you
And-
had theater.
I did. I had
Yeah.
Speaking of telling a story, we want to remind our listeners and give them information if they're local here in Los Angeles about the play by Dan Lauria, Just Another Day, performing at the Odyssey Theater through September 28th. How can listeners get tickets, y'all?
Well, if you go to odysseytheater.com, and it's theater spelled RE.com,
Okay.
you can see where you can purchase the tickets and where your seats are. And a discount code is
Yeah.
FB, like Facebook, FB25.
Nice.
You'll see a lot of, we've been lucky as far as our friends coming. Gene Smart's been there, Ron Perlman, you
It's-
know, a lot of people we worked with.
Yeah.
Wendy
Oh, nice.
Cowan.
they had just added for the rest of the time. There are certain nights, if you go in to pick a day for your ticket, there can be to invite people who may not have even $25. It's pay what you can.
People are making
COVID.
10-minute movies. They're not interested in theater, and they don't realize
Yeah.
that
So
theater
true.
is, you know, it's our oral history. It's
Yeah.
our culture. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but as a veteran, I know it's true. These poor people that are dying in Israel or in the Ukraine, 50 years, 75 years from now, there'll be one sentence in a history book unless somebody writes a great play.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like All My
Well
Sons,
said.
that will
Well said.
come up there. And
Well said.
so it's important to keep the theater and the art of storytelling alive.
It is. It truly is.
And to support it financially, folks.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to your local
and I would
theaters.
like to end with something too,
Go
just
ahead.
to say that even though it's a play about two people in a home
Dementia. Yeah.
with who are, we'll say, comedy writers, trying to remember who they are and then falling in love, but also it's very funny, and it's only about the two people. There are no other characters in it. We don't see the family suffering or any of that. We see their daily relationship, how it grows. Go ahead.
Right. And we,
You know, it's
we've
fun.
seen a lot of plays on the subject of
Yeah.
dementia and Alzheimer's, some good, some not so good, some great, but they all have to deal with the family.
It's true.
And this one, what we're really saying is the creative spirit never dies.
And-
Yeah.
and-
I love that.
And if you're
I love
worried about your somebody who has dementia in a home, you may come away feeling a lot better.
All of our listeners out there, if you're in LA, this is a fantastic opportunity to see Dan and Patty and this beautiful play. So we really
Yeah.
encourage you all to show up and come and see a great play.
Before we let you guys go, we need to give the answer to this week's Hollywood Pop Quiz. So,
And-
Steve,
Oh, we
remind us
go.
of the question.
I'll remind you, I'm going to let Patty answer this since she
Go
was
ahead.
there. Of
Yes.
course,
Okay.
you know, we all think that Patty Duke and Anne Bancroft were the original Annie Sullivan and Helen Keller, but it was
Right.
actually performed on a Playhouse 90 in 1957, I believe. And Patty played Helen Keller, and who was the iconic Oscar-winning actress who played Annie Sullivan?
And I know her name. Teresa Wright was
Wow.
Annie Sullivan. And she was also Uncle Charlie's, what was that film? That wonderful
Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of Doubt,
Shadow
which
of a-
was Hitchcock's
Oh
favorite
my
movie
God.
of the movies he made.
That's
Yeah.
how I picture
Yeah,
her.
and I saw her with George C. Scott and Charles Durning doing Death of a Salesman.
Oh,
Her-
Gosh.
Her and George C. Scott were so good. Every time I've seen that play after, it's in some way, no matter how good it is, it's been a disappointment.
yeah,
You know?
Yep.
It
Yep.
just didn't hit
yeah.
intensity, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Charlie would always say, next to Julie Harris, Teresa Wright might have been the best actress he ever worked with.
Wow.
Wow.
Then-
Wow.
And then Peter Falk said, Charlie, I think you should throw Colleen Dewhurst in there. And then Charlie went, oh yeah, Colleen too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
of course.
Wow. Wow.
Right.
Well, you guys, Dan, Patty, this has just been such a delight, and thank you so much for taking this time to be with us.
Thank you
Our
so much,
pleasure.
guys.
Thanks for helping us in.
And
Yeah.
yes, and listeners, we just want to remind you, thank you for being with us, and please give us a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast. Remember, you can also watch the podcast on YouTube. And if you do that, subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And follow us on social media. Our handle is @FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.
And we love hearing from you, so please keep those emails coming. You can email us at info@FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com.
That's this week's View.
From Beneath the Hollywood Sign.
You've been listening to From Beneath the Hollywood Sign with Steve Cubine and Ann McNamara, the podcast that celebrates amazing stories of Tinseltown from its golden era. Join us next week for another episode and learn something else about Hollywood you probably never knew. Take a moment and give us a 5-star rating and a positive review, and tell your friends about us too. It'll help grow the podcast. Visit Steve's website at FromBeneathTheHollywoodSign.com. The executive producers are Steve Cubine and Nan McNamara. Executive producer and post-production supervisor Lindsay Schnebley. Associate producer and researcher John Price Ritchie. This podcast is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like The Box of Oddities and The Shallow End with Schnebley and Toth. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. That's a wrap.